Trump's one big beautiful bill stand in the United States Senate. Joining me now is Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. Great to see you, sir. Happy July 4th week. I'm curious if you've heard from the Speaker, from Speaker Johnson, about the changes that were made in the Senate and how they might take it coming back from the Senate to the House again.
Yeah, the Speaker and I spoke yesterday. He's got some challenges. There's some challenges the bill he sent over to us too, especially when it comes to SALT, you know, the state and local tax.
Yes.
That was a real big issue for people in New York and California. That was a big issue over here. Medicaid, any changes that we make outside of what the House sent over, he says is going to be challenging. But, you know, we all have to work through these challenges. This is how our founding fathers set it up, right?
That's right.
Both chambers are going to work independently. Both chambers have to sign off on a bill, and then the president has to sign it after that. So why we're going to work through these differences, we're all committed, David, from the president being engaged. The president's been engaged all day. He was engaged all day yesterday. In fact, he's been engaged from the beginning of the process. There's no daylight between the House, between the Senate, and between the White House. We're all working together to get the bill that's not perfect, but the bill that's been negotiated among Republicans that can get 51 in the Senate and get whatever the magic number is in the House. I always say 218, but, you know, as you know, last time it passed with 215. Right. So whatever that number is to get it passed to the president's desk is what our objective is. Well,
and you know, I think of all the naysayers about a month ago say, oh, it's never going to get through, all this and this and that. And they never thought it would get this far, this close to the July 4th date. I just have to ask, though, a little bit into the weeds of this SALT deduction. Originally, the House passed the bill lifting it from 10,000 to 40,000. You keep it at 40,000, but it expires in 5 years. Is that expiration date going to be a deal breaker for anybody in the House who voted for it?
No, we negotiated this very hard. I was the lead point for the Senate in this, and I tell you, the SALT guys and I had some great conversations. They're adamant about their position, and I completely respect that.
Both sides, by the way, both sides.
Yeah. Both sides, yeah. But I was pointing out, you know, we really don't have any senators from blue states, so this is a fight, and so we got to find a good landing spot. We never thought we'd actually strike a deal. What my point was going into the negotiations is to give them enough reasons to vote for it instead of voting against it. So I don't think either side is happy where it landed, but the SALT isn't what's going to cause this bill to fail, and that's what we said from the get-go. We're going to find a happy spot because our number one goal is to make sure the bill gets to the president's desk, deliver the promises that we made to the American people, and that's why they put us in charge in November, and we want to continue to move forward and press the America First agenda that President Trump laid out very clearly to the American people.
Now, the House had a lot of trouble with CBO. You had a lot of trouble with parliamentarian. We talked with your colleague, Senator Tuberville, about that earlier in the show. She did allow to go through the workfare policy for Medicaid, which is something that we saw back with the Clinton administration, how effective it was. Both Democrats and Republicans agreed on that. But she knocked down the provision that would have kicked illegal migrants off of Medicaid. And that's a costly hit by the parliamentarian there. If there are 1.4 million illegal aliens getting Medicaid, which is a figure that we last had, that's about $12 billion a year. Could that change at some point? Could you have a talk to the parliamentarian, or maybe, God knows, get a different one who has a different opinion on that?
Well, David, no one likes to be told no. I tell people all the time, I didn't like being told no when I was a kid. I definitely don't like being told no when I'm an adult. But the parliamentarian works two ways. We praise this same parliamentarian when they didn't allow Bernie Sanders to have his amnesty bid back in Obama's years. We also praise a parliamentarian during Biden administration when they didn't allow Bernie Sanders to once again have his minimum wage increase. So what the parliamentarian does is supposed to interpret the Byrd rule, which is a very narrow window, right? It can just deal with mandatory spending, taxes, and that's it. You can't get into policy and you can't get into discretionary spending. She ruled that the second portion, which it comes to illegals, was more of a policy-driven agenda. And it's very frustrating. We're trying to rework it. There is a way around that, and we expect that vote to come up through an amendment. When we do that, it doesn't, since it's outside the rule of the Byrd rule, which, mind you, the Byrd rule allows us to have 51 instead of 60. All revenue bills outside of reconciliation is required to 60 votes. So the Byrd rule allows us to hit 51. But if we can have the amendment, David, the amendment on that would require 60. So we might get all Republicans, but we probably won't get any Democrats on it.
Right. All right. Well, she's been around since 2011. I guess it was Senator Harry Reid who first appointed her. That shows you how far, but maybe good to have new blood. But I want to switch gears finally to national security in Iran, because we're hearing more and more about some Iranians. ICE has now detained some Iranians who came in, and Lord knows how many of the 2 million gutaways might have been part of sleeper cells or anything, but we have targeted certain individuals for scrutiny who might be part of some sleeper cells in the United States. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we've been briefed on these sleeper cells for quite some time. The Iranian regime made a very dangerous gamble when they put a statement out to the White House telling them to stay out of trying to run their nuclear system or their nuclear infrastructure, or they would activate their sleeper cells. Well, you don't bluff President Trump. President Trump immediately responded within, I'm not kidding, 24 hours and lit their world on fire, which that's why we love this president. If they had the capability of doing it, I think they would already activated it. But however, you got to remember, the Ayatollah is not suicidal. He knows good and well that we know where he's at. President Trump made that very clear. We know where you're at. We could take you out any time. If he were to activate those cells and they were to attack us, we would absolutely destroy his world, and he would wake up in a different place tomorrow morning. So while we know they're here, we actually have time now to systematically go after them. That's what Kristi Noem is doing each and every day. That's what Kash Patel is doing each and every day at the FBI. We're systematically breaking down those cells and getting this dangerous group out that the Biden administration allowed in our country for God knows why.
Yeah, I know the FBI is on it as well. Senator, have a wonderful July 4th. By the way, will the bill be on the president's desk on July 4th? Quickly.
Yes.
Okay. That's two yeses.
We got a lot of work to do, but we'll get there.
You and Tuberville say the same thing. Thank you very much, Senator. Appreciate it. Happy July 4th.